Welcome to Happier ADHD. My name's Marley Darling. I'm a second generation neurodiversity expert with over 17 years experience, and now I'm raising my own neurodiverse kids. You'll notice that I call the podcast a few different things, but we always explore these same topics that I've been looking at for the last 17 years. Psychology, mindset, neurodiversity, personal development, health and well-being, business, parenting, and more. So, without further ado, let's jump in. Hello and welcome to the ADHD Energy Empress podcast, where we talk about mindset, hacks and strategies related to the ADHD life and looking at ADHD in an empowered and positive but still realistic way. My name's Marley Darling. I'm on the autism spectrum and I have ADHD, and I've been studying my own neurodiversities for 17 years, as well as neuroscience, psychology, personal development and business. I'm also a single parent raising two kids with ADHD and on the autism spectrum all by myself. I homeschool them as well, so I have them 24/7, and somehow I'm not burnt out. And it all comes down to hacks, strategies and self-awareness, really knowing what's needed, taking a look at how we can make simple changes that have a really big impact. So today, what's on my mind is balance. Everything comes back to balance, particularly looking at sleep routines, which I'll talk about in a second, and exercise, and really finding the flow of daily life that works. I'm recording this podcast 5 days after I recorded the last one. I do intend to release it weekly, but at the moment, as I get into the rhythm of this, I'm going to record it as often as I see fit. I pretty much think about this stuff every day, and I'm tweaking and trialing and thinking about how I can enjoy my life better and be the best version of me for my kids, and just really have a fulfilling life and look after myself and all the things that need to get done. So at the moment, there's a lot of things to share with you because, as I said, 17 years working on this stuff. So let's get stuck into it, because I have filled out all those little categories that I mentioned last week and the structure I want to use in these episodes. So that's another reason why I'm recording this 5 days later, because I can't pack everything into one podcast. So as soon as I have a bunch of stuff to say, I think it's time to check in and let you know how I'm going with all those little updates and suggestions. So, the achievement or breakthrough for this week is using the Yes Sesh. Yes Sesh is a coin that I have termed. It's based on the concept of the Yes Day, but you can't always have a whole day available, whereas you should be able to find 20 minutes in any standard day. The idea is to connect with your child. Connection increases and kind of naturally ignites cooperation. If your kids are connected to you, they will feel more compelled to cooperate. And connection and one-on-one time is just something that kids really need. They need to be seen and valued. Kids also need to have a sense of autonomy and power and control, especially our neurodiverse kids. So having this 20-minute Yes Sesh where they get to choose what you do, they get all your focus, you put away your phone, put away distractions, and you sit down and do what they want to do, it can really have a massive impact into the smooth running of your household and to your relationship with your child now and well into the future as well, because you're building that connection and that positive relationship. If you're neurodiverse yourself, or if you're just a busy parent, or if you just find it difficult in general, you might find it difficult to sit down and play with your child. Having that 20-minute time set aside can be really helpful. You can have a timer in front of you if that helps. A time timer is excellent because that gives a visual of the remaining time, and it has a red color block that gets smaller, and you can get that as a free app download as well. having that end point can make it easier to sit down for 20 minutes because you've got the end in mind. You can see the progress you're making towards it. And if you are feeling agitated or bored, you can tell yourself, look, this isn't much time. And if you can't make 20 minutes of time for your child in a day, or maybe aim to do it once a week, then that's a little bit sad, isn't it? Because there's a lot of time in one day. But life can get away from us. It can be really busy, and I certainly do not do this every day, but I'm aiming to do it more often, and I'm not structuring it. I'm not putting it into the routine, but I'm putting things in place to help it be easier to do this. So for example, during dinner time, we can get out conversation cards, and that's a way to connect. It's not really a yes sesh, but it's a connection point. We also have short board games. So if we have a bit of time, we can sit down for 20 minutes before or after dinner, or whenever we can fit it in. Child chooses the game and I play a board game with them. So it can be great to have those as well. Any little thing that's fun to play with for a short amount of time, you can have on hand. You can even have a special tub for these little yes sessions. And I've done a bit of training around play therapy. So the way I inform these sessions now, I'm a bit differently informed and have elaborated on how I do it. So in future podcast episodes, and certainly when I update the Parenting ADHD course, I'll be sharing more about those techniques as well, because as I said before, it's really valuable to have this time put aside for your child. It has a huge impact that you might not think about on face value. So that's the breakthrough for this week, is that I've found quite a few little moments where I can sit down. Ideally it's one-on-one with a child, but it can be with multiple children as well. That works fine. Just giving them both a turn to choose and have that autonomy and control is super valuable. The struggle of this week, bedtimes are still a struggle. The kids are going to sleep later than I would like. Yesterday we tried doing an evening walk at a time where they would usually be sitting around reading for a really long time, and the transitions would be difficult. So I took a little risk. We did an evening walk, and it was really nice to get outside. I was hoping that maybe it would make them a bit tired. My kids have never been the type, you know how people say, oh, well, at least they'll sleep well tonight, or at least they'll be tuckered out. That's never been my kids. But it was good for them to get outside and to have that grounding and balancing for their nervous system. And although they ended up sleeping at the time they have usually been sleeping lately, it was a nicer process. We were all happy. We'd just been outside. I had a nicer time than if I was just sitting at home. Yes, I can relax while they're reading, but it is a long evening. When I start cooking at like 4:30 and then they don't sleep until 9, there's kind of that whole mental focus is on getting the kids through dinner, getting them ready for bed. And so it was nice to actually do something and to get outside. So I really appreciated it. And I did notice they were more cooperative when we got home. I tried a little game with them called the 5-minute game, where each task they had to do, they had 5 minutes to do it. Usually I'm just telling them, you need to brush your teeth now, you need to do this now, come on, you can do it quicker. Or I've tried timing them before, but giving them that 5 minutes decreases the demand, because getting dressed in their clothes only takes 20 seconds. And if I time them, that stresses them out. But if I give them 5 minutes, then they have a little bit of leeway to get distracted, but they still have it in their mind that they need to be kind of prompt as well. So that worked really well, actually, and I will definitely be trying that again. The 5-minute game for sure. I'm not sure about the evening walk, but again, it was really good for me and my mood at least. The hack for this week that I want to share is to repeat something back to someone as you wanted to hear it, or how you would have wanted it to be said. So rather than reprimanding or complaining or correcting a person, You can use a nice tone. Don't do it sarcastically or with any spite. But for example, with my child, she said, "Mum, where is my bouncy ball?" And rather than get agitated or say, "Oh, speak nicely," I said, "Oh, have I seen your bouncy ball?" She said, "Yeah, have you seen my bouncy ball?" I said, "No, I haven't seen it." So just that nice tone. This works for adults as well, as long as it's that really casual, just asking it back in the way of a question rather than seeming like you're saying it in a way that's correcting them. So that's just a little hack that I've noticed to help get along cooperatively with your children in particular. Like I said, can work for adults, but it also teaches your child or the other person, just gives them that subtle little hint. And I personally notice when someone is particularly kind to me or just says something in a particularly nice way or a nice tone, sometimes it makes me think and go, "Oh, that felt really nice how they said that, and I would like to speak like that in future," or expect people to speak like that, because it just has a nicer vibe and creates like a nicer atmosphere and a better relationship as well. So that's my little switch this for that for this week. The story of this week is about speaking to children to try and get them to get things done. Or, again, this can apply for adults as well. Be aware that stress shuts down the prefrontal cortex, and when we are frustrated with people, we can go into fight mode and try to make them do a thing. But when we speak a lot, our message can get diluted, or when we change our tone, we can create stress for the other person. So to be heard and to have people cooperate with us, it can actually help to do less and speak less, and then that will get them to act more quickly, more cooperatively. So I know for myself, I have a particular dynamic with my eldest child because it's been going on for a long time. We both have that neurological wiring of expectations for how each other will respond to each behavior. So as soon as a behavior starts, a pattern emerges. It's like programmed into your brain almost, and we usually respond how we've responded in the past. And when that is a dynamic with another person, you're bouncing back and forth off of that and usually repeat the same patterns that you have developed in the past. So I'm used to my daughter ignoring me and not hearing me, and I started to feel frustration rising up. It was bedtime at the time, and I started to feel that urgent feeling. And if something feels urgent, it increases the stress. But I decided that if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. If you do something differently, you might experience a change. So I tried something different. I decided to speak less, and instead of rising up, I just mentioned it's bedtime. I used a more chipper, nicer tone, the kind that if someone used with you, you would want to be friends with them. If someone was really firm and rude to you all the time, like a coworker or any person, you would not really be compelled to cooperate with that person or like that person. So I held back. I just was more of a friend. Instead of feeling like we're enemies and we have this fight, I used a nicer voice. And she said, "I'd really like to listen to music while I brush my teeth." And sometimes that can become an argument as well, because YouTube use can be a little bit of a problem. It doesn't always go straight to the song, but that's another story. I acted more like a friend. I went with her. She put on music and it was more cooperative. Comparing that to my younger child is learning a lot quicker that it's not nice when I feel frustrated. And if I'm being ignored, that increases the frustration. So I started to get frustrated, expecting that I was going to be ignored and have to put up a fight and have to wait around and basically remind and wait for something to happen. But she's learning to communicate. The younger one is learning. She learned, okay, mum gets frustrated when she gets ignored. She wants us to hurry up. And so she said to me, Mum, I'm just going to finish this chapter and then I'll turn it off. And just having that communication about what was going to happen and the cooperation of, yes, it's going to happen and there's not going to be a big fuss, not going to be a huge delay, really helped calm my nervous system down and we could work together. And then she said to me, you'll need to move the charger back to where it was because I moved it in here next to the couch to be more comfortable. She was reading on her tablet. And a few minutes later, she cheerfully said, okay, I'm done, and she turned it off. And oh my God, if only it was always that easy. And I said to her, thank you so much. I really appreciate that we could cooperate like that, and I appreciate your communication. And I've said to the older child as well, when she does cooperate, that, hey, look at this. It's so much easier when we cooperate. It's actually quite easy to do the thing, and we can work together to do it. And she's starting to learn. But me being able to support that in reducing the stress and breaking that pattern and that dynamic we have for each other, stepping back and being mindful of the expectations that have been developed through past experiences and really trying to elicit, insight, to make a different response happen from her. So that's something we still need to work on, but I can do my part in trying to change it. So try speaking less and doing less in order to have more cooperation and support that brain function. Alright, moving on now to a life check-in of the various different areas. In terms of health, something that's not going so well is that I overdid it a little bit. I have a shoulder injury and I injured it because I did too much on Saturday and I had a break from exercise. Sunday was rest day anyway. Monday I had another break because I was tired. The day got away from me. I haven't been waking up before the kids and I've been finding that a bit difficult because then they might need me when I wake up, or we might be going out to do something. Not straight away, but stuff needs to happen. So thankfully, I looked after my shoulder over those few days and the pain went away. I'm in rehab for my shoulder. I'm doing exercises to support it, so I just have to make sure that I don't overwork it while I build that back up. So thankfully, that wasn't a barrier. But when I got up yesterday morning, which was the Tuesday, so I had Sunday and Monday off, I said to the children, I need half an hour to myself. I cannot help you with things during this half an hour. I'm not going to get you a snack. I'm not going to play with you. You can have my full attention afterwards, but I need some time in the day that's for me. I've been doing my best to wake up before you, but it hasn't happened yet. So you need to entertain yourselves for this time. And thankfully, my kids are of an age where sometimes that works. And they respected that with a little bit of reinforcement and reminding. And they went and had their own dance party. So that was cool. They had fun. They had exercise. Today was a little bit different. They wanted to start their schoolwork while I was doing my exercise. I said to them I don't recommend it because I cannot answer their questions. I cannot help them during this time. I just need that 30 minutes to myself while we are still working on that bedtime routine and carving out that extra time. But I do need to look after myself and my body. So I made it happen again today, which was excellent, but that's something that I need to be mindful of to make it happen, and a little bit flexible for when it doesn't happen, and keep working towards creating that better routine as well. A hack I want to tell you guys under the health umbrella is moisturizing. It's really important to moisturize your hands, elbows, knees, and feet. Apparently, they can go pretty gross in old age, so it's important to keep that moisture in them so they stay nice. This is something I've heard from aged care nurses, how important it is. So the hack that I use is to always have moisturizer in sight. I have it in sight in the bathroom, and I have it in sight in my car, so that I will use it when I'm getting in and out of the car, and I'll use it whenever I'm washing my hands. Usually I'm just doing my hands, but I'll do my elbows as well. Touching my knees sometimes feels a little bit weird or dirty, or maybe I've got pants on, so that's done less often, but I still try to get to them as well. And doing the soles of my feet I don't love. Again, it's a sensory thing. It feels icky to touch my feet, and I feel like I'll have to wash my hands after, and if I've just washed my hands first, then it feels like a lot of washing hands. But I try and do that when I get out of the shower or in the evening if I can be bothered. Some people do it when they're just getting into bed, but I don't want moisturizer and feet germs. Not that there's many actual germs on my feet, but just that ick feet feeling on my hands as I'm sleeping, because what if I touch my eyeball while I'm asleep or something? So I don't do it then, but that's my little hack, is to have it in sight, and then you can do it mindlessly and often. Get a moisturizer that you like. Maybe you like the smell of it, so it can be an extra sensory delight as well. This whole thing also ties in. The one hack is to have it in sight. That's the main hack here, but I just want to mention the 1 minute rule. That's something from Gretchen Rubin. And the 1 minute rule is that if something can be done in less than a minute, do it there and then it's done. There's no excuses, doesn't take much time, doesn't take much effort, do it straight away. I want to add a clause to this, because I can bring you the neurodiverse perspective on this. Don't get caught in a loop of 1 minute things, because that can definitely happen with ADHD, of just following the impulse, acting like a squirrel. I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. If something genuinely can be done in less than a minute, the whole task, you're not being a time wizard and assuming you can fit a 20-minute task into 1 minute. If it can genuinely be done in that 1 minute, then go for it. But just that one thing. Don't get stuck in a loop or a huge list of things, unless you're really going for a productive time. But the 1 minute rule is mainly just, if you see something that needs doing, do it straight away. If you see it and notice it, and get into the habit. Next, we're going to talk about social and fun. I want to talk about regulating after social time. That's been a thing for me this week, is a few big social days, or doing activities or meetings or going to new places that can really dysregulate me and drain me. I think I mentioned in the last podcast, everything I do is outside, all the social things, and that's great. But this week I had an indoor meeting and I had an indoor activity with the kids, and I was fine at the time, but afterwards I noticed I was dysregulated. I was ruminating on what happened, and I just didn't feel my usual self. So a few ways to cope with that is to find something else to let the brain focus on. I needed to stop that ruminating aspect, because I was thinking, oh, did I say the right thing here? Or what did they think of me? Or whatever the ruminating is. I like to have a podcast or calm music. That can be especially helpful if you have other things you need to do as well. You need to be on your feet. You can always use audio at the same time. Reading a book, any sort of brain food can be really good. Obviously, breathing, slowing down the breath is really good for the nervous system. The one breathing technique I always recommend is breathe out longer than you breathe in, and that will instantly regulate you. It's a lot less complicated than counting, 4 breaths in, hold, 4 breaths out, hold, square breath, or any of those other breaths. Just breathe out longer than you breathe in. Another excellent thing you can do is just lie down. Lying down calms your nervous system. If you can do that, just lie down for 5 minutes. You can do something at the same time, but the act of lying down calms your nervous system. Then another suggestion, opposite to lying down, or maybe after you lie down, is to move your body. Get out that anxious energy. And the last thing in terms of regulating after social time is to find some dopamine. You could do some menial tasks that don't take much brain work, but ticking things off a list is always really good for the dopamine. And as a bonus, you might be moving your body while you do those tasks as well. Speaking of regulating, I know that I'm talking really fast. I have a lot of things I want to say, so I might need to rethink a little bit all the categories that I wanted to include in the new podcast structure, because I don't want to just be feeling like I'm throwing lists at you. I want to be able to take a breath, share stories. So I will play around and find out how many different points I can say, how long it takes me to say things, and what's a good length for the podcast, because I personally love a podcast episode that's around 30 minutes. And obviously I don't know about you, but that's my own experience. So we'll see how it goes. I hope you're hanging in there. Thanks for listening, and I'll move on. The next thing I want to mention, see, now I'm just listing hacks rather than stories, but that's okay. In parenting, we've been really working on sunscreen hacks. My kids hate sunscreen, so I've gotten them some UPF clothing, some clothes that blocks UV. I've just gotten them some long sleeve bathers and bather pants, which is really excellent because it means that they don't have to sunscreen anywhere near as much of their body, which is excellent. And I also got them some coloured zinc sunscreen, which is encouraging them to sunscreen their face. And I made sure we have really good hats that have the flap at the back, they cover their neck. They have a nice cap at the front that provides shade on all of their face. Another thing that I do is always keep hats in really convenient places. I make sure we keep hats in the car, hats in the backpack, and have multiple hats as well, because sometimes things move around. And same thing with sunscreen. Sunscreen in the backpack, sunscreen in the car. I've got sunscreen up with my moisturizer in the shelf, on the shelf in the bathroom, so it's in sight, and I remember to moisturize my, to sunscreen my face in the morning. And also, obviously, the time of day, you can choose to go outside when the UV is lower, but that doesn't quite work for us because we don't have such a scheduled routine and we need to be flexible with our moods and stuff like that. So I'm glad we've found some hacks to help with that sunscreen issue and being sun safe. In terms of house, something I've been using this week to try and keep the house in a little bit more order is the move it closer method, which is just if you are going from one room to the next, rather than going all the way to put something away, which you might not necessarily be doing, if you see something that needs to go away, you can grab it and move it closer. And then the next time, maybe you're walking down the hallway next, you grab it and you move it down to where it needs to go. So the move it closer method can be really useful because things get closer to where they need to be and eventually they get there. It's just taking those little baby steps towards it happening rather than finding that you have a big cleanup to do at the end of the day or the week or just never because you're ADHD and putting it off. And related to that is having like sorted doom piles. So our doom piles are books. Our hallway is full of books, and it could be cool. Something I'm thinking about and my kids have mentioned is to have a trolley to put those books on, and then hopefully the idea is to then put them away. We've kind of tried that in the past, hasn't necessarily worked, but it looks more organised. I'm also a fan of hidden doom piles as well. We've got a big hidden doom pile in one of the closets, which is all the dress-ups. I used to sort them out for the kids. They didn't bother sorting them out, and they loved to tip them out. So that's just a hidden doom pile. I just shove it in there, don't even look at it, don't even care. I think having hidden doom piles that are semi-organised is fine. If you're going to use the stuff, if it's not rubbish that needs to be thrown out or things that you're never going to use and maybe need to pass on, who cares if you have a hidden doom pile? In Friends, Monica has a secret closet. Sorry if you've never watched Friends, if this is a big spoiler for you. It's been around a long time, so you had your chance. But Monica has a closet that's basically a doom pile. She likes to have a really organized, clean house, so anything that's not tidy goes in that cupboard. Who cares? Her house looks tidy. She has that space, a nice environment for her brain and to function from day to day, and she doesn't need to think about that big doom pile unless she needs something out of it. I'm a fan. I think it works. All right, moving on to business and productivity. One thing I've tried this week is changing my settings on Stay Focused. I did have them so I could use Facebook for 5 minutes every hour, but I'm trialing having Facebook locked until I spend 10 minutes on an educational app, and that includes Sweat, which is my exercise app, which I should use in the morning, and it includes Duolingo as well. So delaying my use of Facebook in the first place is really helping, because I know that, okay, well, I can use it later at some point, but I'm just going to wait until after I've done my exercise. I've also changed the 5 minutes per hour thing to be, if I use Facebook for 8 minutes, then it will lock for an hour. So that 8 minutes gives a little bit more time and flexibility, because I find that I was just changing the settings and unlocking it again when I had that 5 minute per hour. But having the 8 minutes means I can really sit down and get some dopamine if that's what I need. But also knowing it will lock after that 8 minutes means that I'll ration it sometimes. Because, okay, well, maybe I only need it for a couple of minutes now, and then I can have it for a few minutes again later. Whereas having it for the 5 minutes an hour made me feel like I need to make sure I get that 5 minutes every hour. I need my 5 minutes, because then I can't use it again until next hour. And it was just a bit of a different mindset. So that's something that I've been trialing, and that has been working. So that app is called Stay Focused, and I've got it on Android. I'm not sure if they have it on Apple, but I'm sure you can find a similar app that has those sorts of app control settings. And it's working, so that's great. The last part of life check-in is mood and mindset. Something I've enjoyed this week that's a real indulgence is afternoon TV. And obviously not everybody can do this, but find something that relaxes you and is indulgent for you. It could be a small indulgence. I also love reading a book in the sunshine when I can, but having afternoon TV, especially lying in bed with my laptop, or even reading in bed in the afternoon, just having that little break feels super, super indulgent. I've done it a couple of times this week when we've had a really big day and the kids are using tech anyway, and it's very different from when I'm hanging out with them in the living area, in the kitchen, and stuff like that. Just going to the bedroom feels like a real rest space. There's not things to do, there's not chores there. The other real benefits I've found is that it recharges me for the evening. And rather than trying to push through, get the kids to bed and then rest, I've already had some rest time, and I feel like I have a bit more energy, or at least that mental, emotional energy. And it means that I have less TV later on, hopefully have an earlier bedtime, because I feel like I've had that rest already, and I've reset my nervous system, reset my mood. One thing that can often happen as parents is if we feel incredibly burnt out, we can stay up later doom scrolling or binge watching television. So I'm really liking this afternoon TV thing. I can't do it all the time. I managed to do it 2 or 3 times this week, which is really awesome and really nice, and just doing something extra for myself. And finding ways to look after myself and my body and my nervous system. So I really love that. And if you can find a little way to get some quiet time and rest for yourself, if it's just 5 minutes meditating, lying on your back, that'll calm your nervous system. Having a foot soak, having a bath, daytime baths feel super indulgent for me as well. Whatever it might be, painting your nails, you could have something that's really just feels nourishing to you and calming for that nervous system. Resources and media for this week, still the same as last week. I'm watching Friends from College, and I'm reading Life Keeps Me Dancing by Eileen Kramer, and I've been listening to the Happier podcast and Happier in Hollywood as well. this week, what I'm letting go of is rushing and stressing to leave the house, because it's absolutely not necessary. There isn't a giant tiger coming to eat me. I'm just leaving the house. Nothing super urgent. I'm not going to get fined or arrested or, I don't know, get a visit from Satan or something crazy. There's no external force coming to punish me for being late. So there's no sense in feeling super rushed and stressed out. I like to be on time for other people's sake, but I tend to just get stressed leaving the house in general, whereas I could calm the nervous system and have a better experience, not just on the everyday level, but my overall life, because I don't need to do this. I'm creating stress for myself only. But life goes on even if you are late, and it'll be fine. Whatever it is, it'll be fine. If you're in this situation, do your best and learn from it, and then try hacks to change it. There's no sense in stressing or self-hating or beating yourself up or getting stressed with other people who are with you, especially children. Try something different. One thing that can really help is to aim for leaving half an hour before you need to. ADHDers can try to get somewhere bang on the dot because we don't want to be late, but we also don't want to be early and bored and not know what to do. So take something with you. Take a book, take a podcast, take a book of crossword puzzles, whatever. Or you could leave with extra time enough to take a walk first and be close to whatever it is you need to do, or explore around the place, like enough time to do something nearby. Because like I say, we don't like empty space. Another obvious thing is to pack your bag, have everything ready that needs to be ready, and then sit down and rest and read a book for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, however long it is before you need to leave, because then you're ready and you can fill that extra time at home with something flexible, like a book, like a podcast, something that you can pause and stop and leave at that time that you need to leave. So that's what I'm working on letting go of, is that really unnecessary stress that I'm just creating for myself, because we create our own experience of our life in our mind. That's how we experience things, is internally, emotionally, and we can change that. Last of all, for this week, the gratitude for this week is having my feet in the water. Walking along the beach, putting my feet in the water, and when we went for the evening walk, there was a sense of freedom in letting go of those time constraints and feeling like we need to be at home for the bedtime routine. That's something that comes from feeling the need to micromanage and control all aspects of a bedtime routine to try and get my kids to sleep so that I can have rest. And that can be really hard and restricting, and so that's why I've found all these other ways to support my nervous system, look after myself, nourish myself, have me time while the kids are awake. They're not toddlers anymore, they're not babies anymore, so that really helps as well. There is that little bit more flexibility, but I do know people with younger kids who are more flexible with their time as well, so it was nice to just go out for an evening walk and experience that warm summer evening, because obviously I'm in Australia, and the warm water on my feet was lovely as well. As I said, it didn't muck up our bedtime routine, didn't improve it too much, but it wasn't a bad thing. It can be really tricky because when you add variables into the routine, you don't know how they're going to go, especially with neurodiverse kids who can be a little bit more unpredictable perhaps. But all in all, it was good, and it was a lesson that I've learnt last year as well. We're more flexible going out in the evenings, which is kind of why bedtime routine is a little bit slower and different now from what it used to be. So again, it's about finding balance. I don't want them to be up too late, but I want to be able to have that flexibility. And yeah, I'm really grateful that I got to get my feet in the water a few times this week, and that I live near the beaches and had that sensory experience and that really grounding, calming nervous system experience. So that's what's been on my mind this week, is balance and working on all those different areas. Thank you so much for listening to yet another podcast episode. And if you haven't already, it would be super cool if you subscribe, if you share it with a friend. And I will chat to you again next week. I hope you have a lovely week. That's enough of the waffle. Goodbye.
So you've got neurodiverse kids in your life. You've probably noticed that they don't respond well to traditional parenting techniques or discipline or ways to get them motivated or to comply. Maybe you're tearing your hair out with stress and the same old struggles and fights and arguments every single day. Or perhaps you're feeling completely lost because you've tried absolutely everything and it just doesn't seem to work. These kids do not respond to behavior charts. They don't respond to power being asserted over them. What these kids need is something completely different. And what I'm going to suggest to you is you actually stop trying to change them. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And you cannot change these children. You cannot control their behavior. But if you change something around them, you change their environment, you change how you act, it will change how they react. It will change how they respond. If you change something, then no longer will you be stuck in this cycle of doing what you've always done and getting what you've always got. And those traditional methods do not work. So stop wasting your time and energy on them. I know you're looking for a solution and you feel like it's just not possible anymore, but let me tell you, I was in the exact same boat, and then I realized what we need is to do something radically different. My approach is to change the environment around them and to change how you interact with them, and that will have the biggest impact. It'll stop you feeling like your head is butting up against a wall, and it will start actually creating change with less effort. I believe in small, easy to implement shifts that create big change. So if you're interested in seeing what I have to offer, head over to marleydarling.com, and I've got a free webinar there for you to check out, and then comprehensive programs that cover everything I've learned in over a decade of parenting neurodiverse kids, and also in being a neurodiverse person myself who's been studying neurodiversity for over 17 years. I'm here to help you. I'm here to give a different approach, and I wholeheartedly believe that we need a radically different approach to support these children, to empower them to live the best lives possible, and to give you a bit of a break as the parent. So head on over to marleydarling.com, where you can find some free resources and maybe check out my comprehensive programs if you're ready to see a massive difference in your life through just some small shifts. See you there.